Good morning and welcome to the live webinar on My Mission Admission, your gateway to your dream career, course and college. Each new day brings new opportunities and teaches us something new. We at My Mission Admission believe in knowledge upgradation. Thus, our today's topic in our live webinar is knowledge management. Meet Professor K. Sankaran, Director of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll be discussing, he'll be telling us about handling information and resources in an organization. So basically everything about knowledge management.
All right.
So over to you, sir.
Well, good morning, everybody. I must first start by thanking My Mission Admission for this opportunity. Knowledge management is an area that all of us are actually dealing with, sometimes I think battling with, because after the fall of the industrial era, human beings are now into the post-industrial era, where we have to unlearn a lot of things which we have learned in the past. So earlier it was about having a skill and lending that skill to an employer who is going to pay this person, whoever he is, for the kind of skills he or she has. Now what has happened is we are in a new era where we have to come together and create results not through individual knowledge or individual skills for that matter, but through something that is collective. So we are still actually, humanity is still kind of coming to terms with what this new era is and how knowledge management can actually help. Now let me try and give an example. Earlier we had a doctor, for instance, having a certain knowledge about the human body, or if he or she is a specialist, having a certain amount of knowledge about a particular part of the body, let's say the chest. So we have the person who knows all about lungs and how the human beings survive because of the air that comes in, and how this air is passed on to the rest of the body. Now the same lung specialist has to deal with so many different areas of knowledge. So we can see some of these doctors, for instance, coming together and discussing the entire human body. Now they are in allopathy, for instance, and then going to other systems like yoga, for instance, physiotherapy, for instance. So what you're saying here is to have a problem solved, or I wouldn't say a problem always, an issue, especially in management. When we talk about an issue, it's either a problem that needs to be solved or it's an opportunity that can be actually made use of. So if you're talking about an issue, it is not anymore about a finance uh, expert coming up with, let's say, a certain calculation and saying whether a project is uh, feasible or not feasible. It's about having feasibility, of course, on the finance side, but also having a deep conversation with a marketing guy, an operations guy, an IT guy, the supplier, the supplier, the material that is going to be, the guy who's going to give you this material. Or in the case of Japanese, for instance, typical case of just in time, wherein you're talking about, co-opting the person who is going to supply you the components into your own uh, plan. All these things were unthinkable a few years ago. You have a supplier who is going to be kept at arm's length, and now we have to co-opt him into your own uh, confidential plans. So how do we manage these kind of things? So to me, knowledge management is not really just about managing knowledge. It's about managing what we know through our studies and through our experience and through our wisdom, and working together and results for ourselves and the people we are working with. It could be a supplier, it could be our customer, it could be other stakeholders like your shareholder who is bringing in money. It could be somebody who's giving you, uh, advancing debt to you, like a bank. You see, that company is also your shareholder. So now this requires for us at various levels, we have to come together. So knowledge management at the first level is about carrying all this information in repositories. Now we have computers, huge amount of data can be maintained. Now this has to be maintained and then it needs to be actually deployed. So first it has to be collected, it has to be deployed, and it has to be used, and the use has to be, out of the use, a certain feedback has to flow back to what is being collected and how it is going to be deployed. And then it is a constant process of upgrading all this. Now this just does not involve one person, it involves several people. So it becomes an extremely complex task. So the first level is we have MIS system, for instance, management information system, where we collect all this information, put it in a manner where we have access into that data very, very easily. So we have things like uh, uh, relational databases. Now, relational database is an old concept. It probably is about 20 years now. But even today, relational database is an absolutely in thing, so to say. All these, you take companies, big companies that are dealing with information systems, and clients who go to them, they'll be suggesting information, relative relational databases. Then you have access to these relational databases. That is through some kind of a front end. Usually it will be SQL. The SQL has to be really user friendly. So that is also part of knowledge management. But behind all this, the biggest task is not the biggest or the most difficult task is really marrying this technical aspects with the social aspects of how human beings uh, communicate with each other. So I, for one, I have found that we are into research and we write articles on things which are absolutely, absolutely 100% practical. If some of these things are implemented, they can create great results for humanity. So we will find that initially we have to meet a few times, but eventually what really happens is we start communicating at a level where very, very quickly we are able to exchange our views with each other and create uh, works which have deep meaning for whatever area that we are working in. In other words, what I'm trying to say is we need to have a new understanding of how human beings work. For that, we have to have a situation where we are less possessive about what we have in terms of information and so on. And we have to actually part with our views uh, and information data that we have, wherever it's not going to be at a risk. I'm not saying that patent material or material that is behind copyright, etc., need to be shared. We should not be foolish, but at the same time, we need to create an environment where we can come together and exchange these things and create value for both yourself as well as the other person. So, in other words, we have to understand what is creating positive sum games between the yourself and other people. Now, these are actually social aspects, and I, for one, I have realized that what is most important is in knowledge management is an openness, and also knowing where self-interest ends and you know where the other person, if he's going to be nosy, you should know. No, that's something that's private. So playing this game of transparency and privacy, playing the game of self-interest and collective interest, playing the game of trying to be excited about knowledge, and at the same time being very practical in terms of dipping into the right data and creating the right quantitative measures and so on. So this whole area is knowledge management. So almost it's as if management becomes knowledge management in the current era. Um, now, uh, this is this on? I'm wondering whether this system is on or not. Hello? Yeah. Is it on or isn't it better to record and then give it? Hello? I just kept on. I knew there's something possibly not right. I think somewhere yeah. I don't know. Just now, sometime earlier. It may have been earlier also. Doesn't matter. We'll can, how long did I speak? What, 10 minutes?
There's some error on their side.
Is that okay?
Yeah, 53 minutes.
Okay.
Because I've not done it many times.
Let's see. Please.
Because I could see only 2, 3.
Right now. Anand. Okay. All right. I think they're coming on. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I don't know how much you have recorded. So I need to just talk like this some more time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You were talking about the resources and how to manage those. It is not only that the education, the knowledge that we are managing. That's what you were talking
Okay.
about.
Okay. So I think I'll just continue. You will do some editing, right?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
sir,
Yeah. So
there is this slight disturbance, with the mic pulling against your shirt. So I think, yeah,
is that right?
creating,
Okay.
yeah, that's creating a little. Yeah, please, thanks.
Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Is it better now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I'll hold it this way. Right? Okay. So I was just saying what knowledge management today is. Essentially, it comes from the need for people to come together because of the complexity of issues that are involved, and it is both technical and as well as social. So technical things will be taken care of by the IT and the MIS people in terms of having a system in which all this information can be captured. For instance, quantitative data can be captured through relational database. Quantitative information can actually be also captured, rather qualitative information can be captured through decision support systems, expert systems, and so on. You even have systems that learn as one goes by feeding in some information and uh, getting the system to learn by itself. But of course, these technologies are available to a great extent for accuracy as well as to replace human beings. So you can have an expert system actually making a decision, a weighty, let's say, medical decision using these expert systems. Now, as I was saying earlier, I think for me as a management professional and as a management academic, the most important thing or aspect of knowledge management is how do we capture the expertise that we already have in the organization? How do we capture all this and make strategic decisions? So the salesmen, for instance, have a lot of information about the client. I mean, I've actually tested this out. Only a very small percentage, only about 10 or 20% of this information is actually available to the sales manager. Rest of the information is lost because sometimes this information from the ground is not very pleasant to be heard by the sales manager, or there are some blockages in the communication, or the person at the ground level, the salesman genuinely thinks that what he thinks or what the ideas that he has are not really relevant for the company. So a lot of communication has to take place. Now, this communication has to take place efficiently, and for that to happen, it's very important to have some ground rules. Now, those ground rules have to be very clearly established in knowledge management in terms of saying, okay, what is the purpose? So I'm really fond of saying this, that the purpose has to be very clear to the organizational members. What is the purpose for which we are doing this business? we do business not just to make money. Money is very important. Profit is actually self-sustainability on the economic front. It is about sustainability, and there has to be also sustainability on other fronts for the organization, whether businesses or otherwise, to continue. So a lot of knowledge management, besides the technical aspects of capturing this data through ERPs or relational databases or through expert systems or decision support systems and so on, which are extremely technical uh, and are very, very useful. But before, or rather, along with this, not before, along with this is also a social structure has to be created where we can actually exchange information in a non-threatening manner, and where a certain amount of conversation can happen, whether one is in direct communication with the other person or through the net, as I was saying a little while ago. So creating that social technology of openness, irrespective of where one stands on the hierarchy, is very, very important. So we have to understand that the time of punishing the messenger and telling the king what is most pleasant to be heard, those times have gone. And since we are talking about this, I just recall some of the social scientists, for instance, talking about uh, um weak ties and strong ties. It's a bit too advanced for this discussion, but what I'm trying to say is, one has to, if one wants to really have results, one should be able to quickly make friends who are strangers and get along with the solution to a problem. I think there's a problem of yeah, I think there's a problem of connection. Cancel? Hello? Can you hear me, please? Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Hello? Are you able to hear me? Hello? Yeah. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And now, again, I guess you'll have to do some editing, right? Anyway, so so what I'm trying to say is knowledge management to me is a collective effort which requires new skills. And I cannot be tired of saying this again and again, because I find especially uh, you know especially in some circumstances, I find people taking so long to just get on with a common purpose and do the job. And so it's very important to know uh, how much of information to be released and how much to be kept back, and that not every piece of information uh, is patentable or copyrighted material. That we have to get on with this. So at the end of the day, our results will depend upon our ability to manage this complex social process supported by technology. Yeah. So
Right.
I hope. So I hope. So in terms of MBA, since this is actually addressing MBA students or MBA aspirants, I think what you will be taught will be the ability to actually, make every decision. It needs to be backed up by evidence. It has to be backed up by knowledge that's available at different points in the organization. These things have to be brought together, and this synthesis is what the take home for an MBA is, and that ability stays with the person, and he or she remains relevant for the next several years in the organization. Besides, of course, all the techniques that are taught in various functional areas. So knowledge management is about knowledging self and relationship with others and creating results for the entire organization. All right, I'll stop at this, and let me have some questions from my friends on the other side, where we could have a conversation.
Yes, sir. So
Thank you.
we do have some questions actually.
Wonderful. Okay, very nice. I'll be happy to try and attempt to answer
So,
as best as I
there's one
can.
student.
Yeah. Hello?
Sure.
Yeah. Uh, we can't hear you, huh? Hello?
Sorry.
Somewhere I pressed it. Yeah, now I can hear you again.
Yes. So the
Hello?
question
Yeah.
by the student. The question by the student is, how do you
Yeah.
think knowledge management will be useful to us?
Okay. Knowledge management is useful to all of us to address an issue. This addressing the issue, by addressing the issue, I mean either solving a problem or make use of an opportunity that's available. So in MBA, we are very clear it's not about problems. If you keep on saying problems, we will not be able to achieve anything. Because if you go to a company, if you're consulting with a company and say, what problems do you say? I have no problem. So we have to identify opportunities that are available. So this, how it is going to help knowledge management, how it's going to help us. First of all, we will be able to ask the right questions, because we know that at the end of the day, identifying the issue of whether it's a problem or an opportunity, identifying the real issue is very important. So part of knowledge management is really generating the right questions. So it's commonly called problem formulation. So part of management to me is problem formulation. That's number one. Next is knowledge management will help in terms of solving the problem, because you know what the issue or problem is, and you'll know where the expertise lies. Very often, as an expert, we know how to solve a problem, but there'll be a lot of social impediments in the way. So knowledge management really helps in overcoming these in terms of capturing the different ideas from different people and creating a social consensus in terms of arriving at the a solution. So knowledge management, besides problem formulation, is also about capturing these diverse ideas. And sometimes these are not, we don't act rationally. We have fears, we have uh, ideas which are much beyond the usual rational. If everybody has rational, things would have been so easy. So we have to understand the context from which people come, and that is also part of knowledge management. So we have to capture these diverse viewpoints which are rational as well as non-rational. So being sensitive to these things and coming up with uh, capturing these different diverse points of view and synthesizing them to create a solution is knowledge management. So it's all about issue identification and handling that issue, so that at the end of the day our stakeholders are happy, including the managers themselves, because unless a person is happy himself or herself, we will not be able to create happiness among the people who are around us. So you yourself, as an individual decision maker, oneself is a stakeholder. So we have to understand ourselves better. So knowledge management is a very, very, in some ways, a very deep and a very, very, what should I say, diverse topic, of which, yes, MIS and capturing data and analysis of data, etc., is part of it. So in our program, for instance, we also expose students to a program called R. R is a program in handling data. Earlier, these required very advanced, very expensive advanced programs were required to handle data. Supposing we have data on 16 different dimensions, and we want to get a sense of what this data is. Supposing this is for 1,000 students, we have 16 different variables. A variable could be marks, for instance. A variable could be family background. Another variable could be experience. Like this. So how do we make sense of this huge database? So now we have something called R, which is a free program available in the net, developed by the common, the open source community. Amazing program. So we give some glimpse of that. So with this data, we can come to a lot of conclusions. And excuse me, we can generate a lot of insightful understanding about students, and uh, give our training differently. Or if it's a market, we can suggest a new product, for instance, and all these things are possible with large amount of data. So the age of the expert who comes in as a person, I know it all kind of thing is gone now. It doesn't exist anymore, because people have diverse skills, and our understanding of knowledge itself is very, very vast, which goes beyond technical domain. I hope I'm
Right.
able to, yeah. So so knowledge man is about developing an attitude as well as about developing the technical expertise. And now, even if it doesn't reside within oneself, have the humility to go out and seek it from the people who have it. That is
Exactly.
knowledge management.
That's very true,
Yeah.
sir. That's very true. And I'm sure the student must have understood, And
Yeah.
so there's another question, sir.
Yeah.
The student wants to ask, what
Yeah.
are if he takes that course, so what are the job opportunities and the future prospects of this particular course?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, we do have knowledge management courses. Uh, now, specifically, knowledge management course may not completely satisfy the real requirement. Elements of this come in all the courses. That's why in many universities they tried introducing a course in knowledge management, and it may not completely be successful. It's like ethics, actually.
Okay.
So yes, the technical aspects one can learn, in terms of how to make a database, how to capture information, what are the different things involved in capturing that information, what are the different aspects of knowledge and technical aspects, such as I earlier said, about different types of databases, different types of SQLs, different kinds of decision support systems, and so on. Now, those things are actually offered by IT, or the interface between IT and management. So we also have such courses offered. Now, I would take the view that knowledge management is about some kind of an attitude, where training for this kind of an attitude comes in research methodology, it comes in finance, it comes in marketing, everywhere. For instance, in marketing, instead of starting with theory, if you have a knowledge management orientation, we will be actually asking a question: okay, should a company get into, let's say, this particular expansion or not? Now, instead of starting with theory and saying that, yeah, the company should get into this, you will be looking at the data, using the theory creatively, and in a critical manner. Theory has to be looked at, so decisions can be arrived at. Now, the world over, academic institutions are only beginning to do this, but then having a separate subject in knowledge management is not that greatly useful. It's about creating a culture of conversation in the organization, where student learns from professors, professors learn from students, and we generate a very interesting dynamic. So even in projects, we just completed some projects for our students. There is an opportunity for elements of knowledge management to come in strongly and do creative work, where things are not copied. Part of knowledge management is also, non, avoiding plagiarism, for instance. So I would like to define it in a very broad way, so that we become not experts, so to say, in knowledge management, but have an appreciation for knowledge management, and start looking at the view out there, the view out there, that's of the world, through the lens of deep understanding of things, for which one has to bring in IT, as well as research methodology issues, as well as domain knowledge. So it's extremely useful to have a conversation like that. And when we have such conversations in the institute, uh, uh, some of that rubs on the students, besides the domain knowledge that they gain as they go.
Right. So
Yeah.
what I understand is, it's not just something that you teach. It's something that the student or anybody would ingrain in themselves.
Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
it,
Yes. Yes.
it
Yes.
becomes like a culture, so it just grows in
Yes.
you. Once you have that orientation, once you have that basic understanding of this, so you can apply in each and every aspect.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and to know the potentiality, we may have to have some. You know, there are some courses that will teach what are the elements of knowledge management. But at the end of the day, it's a practice in a regular manner that's important. So before we make a decision, we have to ask the question: why am I making this decision? Who are the stakeholders that are going to be affected? What is the current situation? What is the future situation? How is it going to? How is my intervention going to change and give me the result? And what is the evidence that is available to make sure that the intervention that I'm suggesting can indeed give the result that I am talking about? So that will require experts from outside. So it is essentially a more it's like having a new a language system that we can have.
Right. So
It's like a new
basically,
language that we have.
yeah. So it learns you to teach rationally, think rationally. It
Yes,
just
yes.
it's just like there in your mind that you have to think rationally somewhat way.
Yeah, so there is a role for rationality in terms of knowing that X causes Y. Y, X, like if you take the medicine, it causes cure. That is a rational thinking. But then,
Right.
yeah, we have to also bring in thing. Does it also cause other problems? Is there any alternative? Is it really the medicine that we should be using? So, at a very, very practical level, we can introduce
Widen
ideas of widen that inquiry. And when I know that there could be situations where we have to make a quick decision, we should not get paralyzed, so that's
right.
also important. Yeah.
So that's wonderful, sir. Yeah, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
Nice.
was it was really wonderful, sir. We all of us got to know about such a new topic and a wonderful new insight about knowledge management. And it was great talking to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you for this great occasion. I wish my mission admission all the best, and I can see that some
Thank you,
wonderful
sir.
people are there behind this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for viewing the webinar. Stay tuned for more such webinars on My Mission Admission. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye.